If you were sitting with a Sovietologist in 1987, they would have said to you, the Berlin Wall is going to be there for 2,000 years, and it's going to be like the wall in Jerusalem. And then the other thing's going to happen is the Soviets are going to be there forever. And then 2 years later, bada bing, bada boom, the thing's down, and the flag's coming down, and the Russian flag's going up Christmas Day of 1991. So you don't know what's going to happen. But what you need to do is focus on us, fix the inside of us. This way the people on the outside will love us more. Fix the inside of us, and let's give the Chinese a break because they got their own problems. And we don't need to be overly fighting with them while we're trying to fix the inside of us. The Doge thing going after USAID, I understand there's some graft. I understand there's some fraud in there. I know that people are not perfect, but we need our soft power to preserve our currency advantage. We need our soft power to preserve our brand. The Chinese have a shitty brand, okay? You know, I was at the 𝗕cie History Festival last week. Some old lady. My demo, by the way, guys, is like 70 to 90. Okay, that's my demo. If the women are 70 to 90, they love me. My wife is like, that's fucking great. You know, no one below 70 likes you, so I'm no problem, right? So the lady's raising her hand, and she says the question about China and how should we think about China. They're pumping money into Africa. They're pumping money into Eurasia. How should we think about it? And the answer is they're getting a demultiplication from their money because their culture sucks. They're not a free country. So when they put $1 in on a multiplication level, it's like 0.3. When the Americans put in $1, because we got Madonna and Bruce Springsteen and Peter Diamandis, that sexy Greek, when we get those guys in the mix, okay, we get an exponent, okay, because people love America. Now, Trump's hurting our brand because he's trying to be too aggressive with adversaries and with allies. But you got to go back to USAID, use the soft power flex on people. And by the way, just think about this. We have the international stars. Europe creates international stars. China creates no international stars. Because anytime they create a star, they arrest them, they put them in a jail, and they say you got to submit to the Communist Party. Okay, so we have a material advantage over them, and we have to be smart about the exercise of that advantage around the world.
Salim, what are your thoughts
here? Can I give a counterpoint here?
Yeah.
In a world of abundance, a China-U.S. tension makes very little sense, right? If it was a zero-sum game, yes, but in an abundance world, once you have abundant energy. So how does that play into your thinking? Because you're one of the few that can see that tension clearly and also see where the technology is going.
No counterpoint needed. I'm in agreement on that. If you've heard my other interviews, I'm a China rationalist. I have taken Kissinger's view of China. Yeah. I would recommend that book on China from Henry Kissinger. I'm a believer that we have two different systems, but we have to be compatible. And if anything, I want to get deeper into the economic dependency, the interdependency with China. Because what we find through 5,000 years of recorded history, the more economically interdependent we are, the harder it is. See, when Trump is tariffing them, or are you going to tariff us? That's going to make us go apart. No bueno. You're way better getting deeper with China, which will stall China from making decisions to hurt you, and vice versa. And I'm not saying they're not adversaries. I'm not saying they're not stealing our intellectual property. I'm not saying I'm a China realist, but I think it is very, very important that we figure out a way to get closer to China and not have these separate silos. These separate stovetops would be very dangerous and very bad long-term for the world.
Have you heard my one-line summary of China?
Go ahead.
I think China, the native capitalism of the Chinese people is so ridiculously high that they need socialism to keep a lid on it. Otherwise, they'd sell their grandmother for a profit.
It's probably true. You know China better than me, Salim. I would say this to you, that the forces in China are different on the ground than people expect. You know, there are 7 balkanized provinces that are being glued together by 90 to 100 million people in the Chinese Communist Party. There's a lot going on in there. The Uyghurs, the situation with Tibet. You know, everybody's got a VPN. 10% of the Bitcoin mining still getting done in China. 15% of the transactions still getting done in China. There's a lot going on in China. Yeah. And, you know, the Chinese may take Taiwan, or the Chinese may morph into something totally different than is existing in China right now. We don't know. But if you were sitting with a Sovietologist in 1987, they would have said to you, well, the Berlin Wall is going to be there for 2,000 years, and it's going to be like the wall in Jerusalem. And then the other thing's going to happen is the Soviets are going to be there forever. And then 2 years later, bada bing, bada boom, the thing's down, and the flag's coming down, and the Russian flag's going up Christmas Day of 1991. Okay, and so you don't know what's going to happen. But what you need to do is focus on us, fix the inside of us. This way the people on the outside will love us more. Fix the inside of us, and let's give the Chinese a break because they got their own problems. Okay, we don't need to be overly fighting with them while we're trying to fix the inside of us.
So recent news, Trump says he's gotten a group of wealthy individuals together to buy TikTok.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Not going to happen. It's going to stay. It's going to stay in Chinese hands, and it's going to stay as something that people play with every day. It's just going to stay status quo.
I think so. Yes, unless Trump wants to pull the plug on it. First of all, they're never. That is weapons grade. That is weapons grade surveillance software. That is about as good a spyware as you can get, and
or
it's
influenceware too.
Yeah. I was just going to say that it's influenceware, and so it is moving a nation. They've got people thinking that the moon landing is fake. They got people thinking, Osama bin Laden did some good things. I mean, they got 31% of the boys in this country below the age of 30 that think that we faked the moon landing. Okay, so TikTok is a powerful source in China, but Trump's bought and paid for by the guys that own TikTok with the Chinese, and so he's not gonna bust them. Okay, and that's a big problem in the country. Okay, because Trump cares about two fucking things. He cares about money, and he cares about attention. He wants to be on the top fold of your newspaper, and he wants the four of us talking about him. And so he will do. He's a reality television producer. He'll come up with the project and the script every day to get you hyper analyzing him and get your cortisol levels up. Okay, but if he was a great leader, he would say, this is really bad for us. So either we have to take it over or shut it down.